Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get started now. You are at Smarter Cameras for Safer Schools with Meraki MV. This is one of our special webinars focused on education and the benefits that MV offers to it. My name is Sarah Lynn. I work here in the Meraki office with the MV team. So today we're going to do a brief intro to Meraki and then talk about why you should choose Cisco Meraki MV for your school. And of course, if you've been to any Meraki webinar, you'll know that we'll do a live demo of dashboard. And then ending with a brief overview of the Meraki solution and then kind of going into next steps. Just a couple of housekeeping items. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box there. We've got some people here with me in the room to answer your questions. If we don't get to your questions, don't worry, they will be recorded. And so we will try to get to all of them either during the webinar or afterwards. And we want to make this as useful as possible. So if you do have questions or things that come up, please feel free to put them in. So for those of you that are not familiar with Cisco Meraki, I wanted to give you a little bit of background so you kind of understand where we are and what we do here. We are all about simplifying IT with cloud management. The Meraki portfolio has a complete cloud-managed IT solution with wireless switching, security, SD-WAN, endpoint management, and security cameras. It's all integrated hardware, software, and cloud services, making it very, very easy for you to use. And we're a leader in cloud-managed IT. We're among Cisco's fastest growing portfolios. We have over 250,000 unique customers, more than 3.5 million Meraki devices online, and over 5.5 million active Meraki dashboard users. To give you a bit of an overview of our cloud management, it is out-of-band cloud management. That means that no user traffic passes through the cloud. It's only management data, and it's intuitive. The dashboard is intuitive. It's very, very easy to use. It's browser-based and centralized. It's infinitely scalable, so there's unlimited throughput, no bottlenecks, and you can add devices or sites in minutes. Highly reliable, so we have multiple data centers, and if there is an issue where your network cannot connect to the cloud, it will still continue to function, so you don't have to worry about that. And we do have a 4.9 uptime SLA. So again, from a security perspective with the cloud, no user traffic actually passes through it. And we can fully support both HIPAA and PCI compliant networks, so that gives you an idea as far as our privacy and security. We take it very, very seriously. And we are subject to third-party security audits and daily penetration testing just to make sure. There are automatic firmware and security updates that take place with the equipment that can be user scheduled as well. And if you're interested in finding out more information on the reliability and security, you can go to meraki.cisco.com/trust. So let's get to MV. Why choose Meraki MV? Well, student safety, I'm sure for everyone, is a top priority. And with Meraki, we combine the best of both network security, so looking at protecting student data, complying with security regulations, helping to prevent hackers and malicious files from infiltrating your network, with physical security, and that's with Meraki MV. And the physical security can help provide a safe and secure learning environment from the classroom to the playground. So let's look at how we do that and some of the benefits that we can offer for you guys. So ensuring student safety with advanced security with Meraki MV. Well, there's a lot of different things that can mean and a lot of different ways that we can help you do that. So it's quickly, easily find trespassers or anomalous activity happening within your school. Make sure students are safe and making sure that they are where they should be. It can help kind of with the day-to-day stuff, locating missing items like an iPad, laptop, or backpack. If there is an issue, you can easily give access to those who need it, including law enforcement. But even though you can give access to those who need it, we will help keep your video footage private and secure to protect that. And security cameras, just by the sake of being there and being visible, can proactively mitigate risks and incidents. People are more likely to behave if they know they're being watched. So those of you that are familiar with security cameras are probably familiar with what you're seeing on the screen here. This is a traditional security camera deployment, and you can see there's a lot of different parts and pieces. Each camera connects to an NVR or a DVR, depending on the type of system that you have. The cameras are recording or viewing the footage or recording the footage, and then they're being sent to be stored on one of these NVRs or DVRs. And then usually you're going to be watching them on a VMS, so that requires more hardware, maybe more servers, more software to be installed. It's a lot of manual configuration and complexity. And it can be a huge network vulnerability as well, as you're having to keep every piece of your solution up to date, making sure that there are security fixes, patches, that sort of thing. And it can be difficult when it comes to scalability. Similar to traditional wireless controller architecture, each NVR can only handle X number of cameras. So if you need to add an additional camera, it's very possible that you need to add or upgrade your NVR, your servers to handle that new larger capacity. Now, with Meraki Envy security cameras, we do more than just security, and we'll go over the architecture in just a minute, but I wanted to highlight a few different things. We are the only security camera from a cloud leader managed through the Meraki dashboard. All of our cameras have up to 256 gigabytes of solid state storage on the camera. We have motion and schedule-based retention, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the demo, but it can help expand your retention capabilities. And with our analytics, the cameras can act as sensors, not just security cameras, so giving your organization the ability to understand trends, patterns, movement to help make better decisions. So our architecture, we've got a bit of a diagram here, is unique. The camera, because of its on-device storage, serves as both the camera and the NVR. So everything is stored on the camera itself. And you can view video either locally or remotely through the cloud dashboard. And this makes it really simple, really easily to see what is going on anywhere from any type of device. You don't need to install software on a machine like you would with a VMS. If you're watching local video access, or if you're watching video locally, then you have the ability to stream it, to view it directly from the camera itself. If it is remote video that you're accessing, then it will go through the Meraki cloud. So the only time that you're really using any noticeable bandwidth is going to be if you are viewing video remotely. And there's less than 50 kilobytes per second upstream bandwidth per camera otherwise. Our cameras have models with microphones available, wireless capabilities, and a small form factor. And it's hybrid video processing, so video is analyzed on the camera itself, and motion is indexed in the cloud, which makes it very, very quick and easy to pull up and find footage of incidents. So with Envy, you can get rid of a lot of the complexity, a lot of the headache, a lot of the pain with traditional systems. So there's no need for additional on-premise hardware, like an NVR or a DVR. There's no need for standalone software packages, drivers, plugins, IP configurations, things like that to view video, to analyze video, to understand video. And you can export video directly from the camera itself into an easily viewable MP4 format. So that eliminates the need for DVDs, thumb drives, VHSs, and other outdated sharing options that can make life complicated. Now, we've heard some stories that are unfortunately true stories about customers who have had such difficulty getting footage off their existing camera systems that they took their smartphone, held it up to the screen, and recorded video of their VMS playing the incident to share with authorities because they couldn't figure out how to get it off. With Meraki, that's no longer an issue. It's so much easier to do, and we'll show you that in the demo in just a second. So with Meraki Envy, physical security meets school intelligence. And what does that mean? Well, we give you the physical security with the cameras to be able to view what's happening, be aware of what's happening, but we make it much, much easier to use. With features like motion search and alerting, you can easily isolate motion events and find out what happened when, but also receive alerts when motion is detected. So if you don't have someone watching video 24/7, you can be notified pretty quickly if there is an anomaly, if something's happening when it shouldn't be happening. With the motion heat maps, you can see relative motion in an area over time. So you can see maybe where students are congregating, what areas of the building are being used most frequently or most heavily during what times. And you have the ability to choose hour by hour or day by day view. And it's generated entirely from metadata, so this information isn't bandwidth intensive. It is not. It is very quick to pull and very easy to use. And then finally, with person detection. And person detection is something that until now was most seen or most used in very large, complex retail environments, but we give it to you on our Meraki Envy 12. And so now you have the ability to identify what is a person, what is not a person within your organizations or within your campuses. And people counting analytics help you kind of identify lulls or spikes in activity to see where people are moving when, again, which areas are being more highly used, and also kind of identify anomalous events of, hey, why is there a person detected at 1 a.m. on the campus? So we've got a couple of case studies I want to highlight for some of our schools that are happily using Meraki Envy. The first is at Reading School District. They were using an older system and they had issues with the NVRs and the DVRs. It wasn't a scalable solution. They're a very large school district. And whenever they had to add another camera, they often had to add additional DVRs. The web-based management eliminated the need for their dedicated security monitoring rooms. Previously, they had rooms set up just to watch video. Now with the dashboard, they can watch it from anywhere, and that's allowed those rooms to be repurposed or used for other things. And there's better quality and coverage with Meraki Envy, so it's much easier to find incidents with more accuracy, see what's happening, and then take action. Now, Reading School District is a very, very large school district. It's got over 18,000 students, 2,000 staff members across 22 buildings. They are a full stack Meraki customer, so they do have additional Meraki equipment, access points, switches, security, systems manager, and they are in the process of deploying over 1,000 Envy. But it's important to note that you don't need other Meraki equipment to have Envy, and we have plenty of schools that are just using Meraki Envy without any other equipment, although we do love it if you have more of our stuff, and I'm sure you will love it as well. The second case study that I want to talk about is Briar College. So this is a small campus, but across a small school, but across a very large campus. They have 600 students, but over 3,200 acres. And they love Meraki Envy because the local camera storage ensured that all incidents are captured and viewable, so there was no issues with centralized DVRs, issues with DVRs, things like that. I've had some schools tell me that they had no idea that there was an issue with a camera or an NVR or DVR until they had to pull footage of an event. And with Meraki, schools like Briar College don't have that issue. It was easy to install. They're an older campus, historic building, and a small IT team was able to deploy it easily without disrupting or affecting the older building. And they're able to put cameras in a remote site. One part of their campus is about a 10-15 minute drive, and public safety was having to drive all the way out there to monitor stables, and they were making these rounds a couple times a day. But with Meraki, they're able to put a camera there so that they could remotely view what was happening all the time from anywhere and save time making those trips out there unless they needed to respond. So I'm going to pause for just a second and we'll go into the demo, but if you have any questions that you haven't gotten asked yet, please go ahead and put them in. We'll be right back. All right, and we're back, and we have a very special guest, George Bentink, who is actually our MV camera PM, and he's going to be taking you through the demo.
Thank you very much, Sarah Lynn. A really great introduction and two great case studies that I'm very enthusiastic about. I think one of my favorite quotes from the Sweet Briar team was at one point they told us they wish they didn't have any cameras. And the reason for that particular statement was that their existing camera system was so unreliable that when a camera didn't record something and they were asked for the footage, they were sort of blamed by their colleagues, by the teaching staff for not being an effective IT team when they actually had no way to know if these cameras were working or not. So for them, they said they prefer to have no cameras because then they wouldn't be blamed when the thing didn't work, which I think was a really interesting and unfortunate situation to be in, and sort of highlights the value of like those really basic core principles that Meraki does really well, that Sarah Lynn went through in relation to not just the cameras, but our other products as well. That's the simplicity, ease of management. You shouldn't need to be an expert in camera systems or necessarily like IP networking. You want that to enable you to provide a safe and secure environment for your children and students to learn and to grow. So with that, we're going to put this in practice and show you in real life how you use the Meraki cameras. And so we have a demo for you, and this is using a live production network. Now, the first thing I want to sort of caveat this with is that unfortunately, because we're sort of re-encoding video, because we're going through WebEx, you're watching us as we go along, it's not going to be quite as smooth as it would be if you were sat right next to me. So imagine everything I'm showing you, but slightly better. I think that's the way to think about it. It's going to be smoother, the video is going to be nicer, and we definitely want to sort of make sure you get that experience. So call our sales team, ask for a trial of a camera, and you'll be able to see it without the sort of jitteriness that you'll get from WebEx. As I go through this, I'm going to try and keep the chat window open, so keep putting those questions in there. If there's something you're like, oh, can you go click on that? Can you show me what this is? I really want to see that feature. Let me know, and the team here are going to look at that, and we'll make sure we try and include that in the demo as we go along. So with that, let's kick things off by going to the demo. So the Meraki dashboard is this one management interface for all the things that we have, and we're currently looking at cameras. However, if I go up here to where it says wireless, and we go to access points, you'll notice something, and that's that it's really boring. The reason I say it's really boring is this is exactly the same. You don't need to be any specialist. You can be just a standard IT person. The IT team in education has to be this multi-talented, multi-skilled, everywhere at the same time sort of organization, and having to go and learn all of these independent things when they're really difficult is not something that's going to help you do that. So being able to go from wireless to cameras, or switching to wireless to cameras, all in one interface, all with the same login, and all with the same look and feel, means you drastically reduce what you need to learn, and you can go and get things done rather than having to spend lots of time reading manuals. The other thing I find very intriguing is this idea of other products in this interface, such as mobile device management. So Sarah Lynn and myself have both worked on Systems Manager, which is our fantastic MDM and EMM solution for managing iPads and stuff like that. I'm aware of no other vendor that has both that type of product and cameras in the same interface, to the point where you start to think, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. But actually, when you put them together, you come across these interesting things you can do, such as the geofencing capability in Systems Manager. This is your ability to create zones and say, okay, if someone moves something from the office or from the school, I want to get an alert. What's the first thing you want to do when you see that a student's iPad has left the building? You probably want to go look at the cameras at the entrances and exits of the building to find out what happened. And this is in the same interface. You don't have to go somewhere else. Okay, enough of looking at some of these other products. Let's drill down into the cameras. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this scenario where potentially we have someone's bicycle stolen, although you can apply this to any type of incident that you want to investigate. So I can go in here and I can say I want to search for bike room cameras. So I typed in the word bike, and now I just have the cameras for my bike room. And then I'm going to go down here to this one that says entrance rack. And so what it's doing is it's connecting to the camera. Now, as Sarah Lynn went through during the presentation, this camera is, we're like remotely accessing it. So I'm not on the network for this camera, and we're using that cloud proxy. This is that very simple, very easy remote visibility that you get with no VPN and no need to do anything special to make it work. So I could be in London, or I could be in Paris, or I could be in Sydney, and I can still see our bike room just as easily with just a web browser. We've had head teachers tell us that they use it to check to see if the snow has been cleared from the parking lot of the school to make sure that the school buses can turn up without any issue. All they do is they just log in on their phone and away you go. That's it. You just need a device with a web browser. You don't need anything else to make it work. So I'm looking at my bike room, and as you can see, not a lot is going on right now. We're looking live. I can click on the timeline, and it's going to go and load that video for me from that point in time. Or I can use things such as natural language. So if you imagine a scenario where someone comes to the office or calls the campus police and said something happened, they're probably not going to tell you it happened at sort of like 11:53 and 35 seconds. They may say something like, well, it happened about 50 minutes ago. So if I type in 50 minutes ago, it's going to take me to 50 minutes ago. So you can use things such as absolute and relative time to go and find things, and the camera will retrieve the video really, really quickly. I could even say yesterday noon, or I can say potentially last Friday 2 p.m. And you can see the room has sort of changed here. Now I'm going to go to when we had a few more bicycles in this room. So I'm going to say yesterday noon, for example, because then we'll have a bit more to go and look at. Now, if I motion search, I can now find out what's happened here. So we haven't seen anyone, and I want to know what happened, and I don't want to watch 8 hours of video to get to that point. So what I can do is I can go and sort of select anything in the scene retrospectively and find out what happened. So there's this bike here, and I'm going to select this bike. Maybe this bike has been stolen. The owner's reporting it's stolen. So I've selected the bike, and nothing's happened. Now I can zoom out on the timeline, and now we're starting to get some events. So we can zoom out until we get to a point where we find someone who's moved or sort of changed that bike. So I'm going to sort here, and I can go and sort of click here, and we can see, in fact, it wasn't this specific bike, but there's actually someone underneath where that bike was putting another bike in. So we've gone and found like another event to that particular area. So we can see this person removing this bike, and they're sort of getting ready to go cycle home with the bike clock on it. Now, what I can do is I can speed this up, and we can see that they've left. Now, if I slow this down, I can actually backstep, holding the left arrow key here, and we can see this person. And now we can go through the cameras within the list. So if you remember at the beginning, I searched for this bike. Well, we can go and look at this particular incident from a different angle. So we can see this person from this angle, or we can go see them from this angle. So these are all cameras within the same set here, and I can go analyze this event from multiple angles, all for this one incident, just using that original query where I found out what went on. Let's just give another brief example. So if I go back here and we go look at the bike room, and you can see we've got these cans of drink down here. Maybe I want to know if anyone's sort of taken a can of drink. So I can select a can of drink, and then we could go down and see what potentially happens. So if I click that video, it's going to go load the video, and we can see what's going on. So this tool drastically simplifies finding out what's gone on. You're not having to watch hours and hours of information, and see the guy going down, and he's picking up a can of drink. What we heard was some colleges were saying, we download 8 hours of video for the incident. We don't know when it really happened. And then we watch it 8 times playback on a big TV in the office. And when we don't see what happens, we go to another camera, another camera, another camera. And here, in just a few seconds, we've found out what went on. And you can use it for all sorts of things. You can use it to find out if someone has walked down a corridor or exited a particular door. And you can even set alerts. So we've searched for stuff here. But one of the interesting things to do is to set an alert. So if we go to settings here, and we can go to motion alerts. Now, one of the things that unfortunately we've had our customers tell us about is people breaking into their schools and trying to steal high-value items like computers late at night. Well, you are more interested in things that happen late at night when people probably shouldn't be there. You don't want alerts all the time. So what I can do is I can say, okay, I want an alert, and I'm going to sort of select my I'm going to select my drink cans here. Maybe these are really valuable, rare, one-of-a-kind Coke cans that are worth a lot of money. So I've now selected them, but I'm not worried about people taking them during the day. So I can set a schedule. So here I go, change schedules, and now I can say only record out of hours. So I can create a completely new schedule, like specific to my particular environment, my school and how we're running, or I could select this one that's only during the week. So let's say I select a new schedule. I can go in here and I can sort of adjust these parameters however I want, and now we can have an alert only for that specific window of time. In this instance, I'm just going to go select one of the existing ones I already have. And so there, very quickly, I've gone and got my alert for these cans for this particular time. And if I don't want to get alerted if any small thing happens, I can sort of set a buffer period as well. Now, all of this sort of data, this data about motion and activities, all of this is analyzed on the camera. It's really, really cool that we're able to do that on the camera without having to have any servers or anything like that. And what we can do is we can use it to improve how long the camera stores. So, for example, we can go into this quality and retention page, and you can see this particular camera is going to store 7 days, not a long period of time. I'm pretty unhappy with that. I want to store longer. So I can go change some of the quality settings and sort of double out that to 14 days, for example. Or I can come up here and enable this thing called motion-based retention. So what is that? With normal motion-based recording, note the difference here between retention and recording, you record only when something happens. But what if it doesn't detect that something happens? None of these technologies are 100% accurate. There could be a chance it misses something. Well, we had a customer tell us about this experience. So they had a scenario where their sprinkler system activated overnight and flooded their place. And they wanted to watch a video to find out what happened. And there was no video. And that's because the water droplets were too small at nighttime to trigger the recording. So we do something slightly different. With motion-based retention, we record everything. And you can see, as it says here, we only delete footage that has no activity after 3 days. So you're guaranteed to have the last 3 days of everything 24/7. And we can make that decision using the analytics. So if I turn this on, suddenly this camera goes from storing 14 days to 90 days, or in fact, more than 90 days. That's the most that we actually show. We just show 90 plus. And now I can increase the quality setting, and I'm trying to target my 30 days here. So I've brought it down to just 56 days with the highest possible quality setting. And if I have a policy which states we don't keep anything beyond 30 days, I can also implement that. So here I've now locked it to 30 days, so we're not storing anything beyond that. What I could also do is then use this scheduling again, not for alerts, but for how we record. So I could say, okay, I want to schedule for when and how we record. Some good examples of how I've seen this used in education are when you want cameras in classrooms and other places to protect the equipment, but teachers or the teachers union or the parents don't want the class actually recorded itself. Well, what you can do is you can set a schedule so it only records out of hours. This way you protect from that sort of stranger breaking in late at night and trying to steal the computers, but you're not recording the staff while they're trying to have that genuine interaction with the students day to day. So you can really customize this to suit your particular situation. All right, I'm going to go back to my list of cameras here, and we're going to go look at how we, again, use this data to make your life easier, help you understand what's going on in your school or in your college. So we're going to go look at a camera which is outside. So this is our outside camera. And as you can see, we have like a nice balcony here with some like chairs and things on it. And there is a door to the bottom right area here. Now, if I go to where it says analytics, I can go and sort of, just going to refresh my page here, select a particular day. Let's say I pick Tuesday. Now, for some reason, my little thumbnail is not rendering through my WebEx behind here. So use your imagination briefly. So where you see this little camera icon, when you're using your cameras, you'll actually get a thumbnail of what it looks like. And these colors are the heat map that represent activity, like motion. And so it summarizes or aggregates the whole period of time with a color heat map. So what this is really representing is there's a balcony here, and the balcony has people walking up and down it at lunchtime looking at the view of the Bay Bridge in San Francisco. What's really intriguing is this helps highlight activities for things that people do not report. So are there students hanging out in a particular corridor, or are there people outside in an area at a strange time of day? So we're only looking at sort of 9 to 5 here. I'm going to go sort of like just see if we can find a slightly different camera here that's going to give us another particular angle. So we go bike room, we'll go back to our analytics here, just go pick a different day. No, we haven't got analytics on that particular camera. Okay, we'll go back to my terrace camera. Well, essentially what I'm trying to sort of highlight here is the ability to understand things which you don't know have happened. Examples are, I've gone and looked at this heat map and it's like, why is there heat at 8 p.m.? There's no reason for anyone to be there. You can then go motion search to find that specific activity, to find out what it was, and you find all sorts of things. You find people playing football on the balcony, which you didn't expect. I've also discovered a keg party on the balcony. No one had told me about the keg party. Unfortunately, I hadn't received an invite, but now I know that it happened. That's not one of the things that someone would have reported. They probably didn't want anyone to find out. So this really gives you an insight into how things are going. I have two other examples that I'm pretty fond of. One is a colleague that has one in his garden, and he found these badgers were walking across his garden in a particular area at 2 p.m. So he had this big heat line at 2 p.m. He didn't know he had badgers, but now he does because the cameras saw that pattern. It's not that the badgers were stealing his bicycle, for example. And the other one is an example from Australia where in the outback, they were using this to understand sheep grazing behavior. So they wanted to know where the sheep were in a field. Again, this is about understanding behaviors and patterns, not directly about security, although the camera does a great job at that as well. So let's have another example with the newer MV12. So we've been showing you some of the stuff on all the cameras, but let's look at the specific MV12 functionality. I'm going to go to the staircase here. I'm going to go look at an MV12. Now, because of the machine learning for people analytics, we get a different interface. We get both the heat maps down here, and we get these bars. So you can see we have a lot of heat. There's a lot of activity on the staircase. Could be quite hard to work out like nuances there when you don't have more granularity. But what I could do is if I go here, you can now see the flow of people up and down the staircase throughout the day as like defined by people that the camera has detected, not by motion. So this is not affected by cars, spinning ceiling fans, TV screens, or anything like that. This is just the actual people walking around. And you can drill down into any of this. Now, I want to use this as an example of finding out, why is there someone in the building? Why is someone doing something late at night? I can go down, and I can go down to a minutely basis. So you can search with the motion search for people, or you can delve down into the actual people analytics. And so if I go in here and we go click at this, it's going to take us to the video, and we can start watching the video. And it's quite fun to sort of watch to work out what's potentially going to happen. And my expectation is that we're going to see a cleaner or someone with a vacuum cleaner or some description. In fact, my guess was spot on. There we go. We have the guy walking up the stairs with the vacuum cleaner, and you can see the yellow box. So I'm just going to pause it there. That yellow box is the camera not recognizing motion. You can see this sort of yellow cable behind him being dragged around. The power cable there, that's moving, but the camera's not detecting that. It's just detecting him as a person. So if you want to know if there's a lot of people in an area, or if you want to find out why is there like a person moving in the building at that time of day, you can very easily go and find out what's going on. It also helps you understand the utilization of the building, which can be really interesting as well. Now, say this guy is suspicious. I'm not happy with this particular guy. I can say, okay, I want to export this information. So I can now create a slider here, and I can hit export. Now, I don't have permissions to export this, so it's just going to fail. But if I did, what it'll do is it'll start taking this video off the camera and creating a file download for me. And we did a lot of research with law enforcement, and one of the things they struggle with is being able to quickly retrieve evidence and access video, often having to drive around to collect it, finding it difficult to use in courts. They want that to be really, really easy. So when you do this and you create the export, you get a file download. It's a standard MP4. It will play on anything made in the last sort of 5, maybe even 10 years. Sarah Lynn's looking at me going, probably 10 years. Yeah. So with that, you just play it, and it has timestamps, it has watermarks, it has title cards, it has all the things you need in it if you want to go use it in court, and it's very, very easy to go use. Alternatively, you can take a snapshot. So if I hit screenshot here, it's going to take a full resolution snapshot for me, and I can go look at that and be able to see it. So I don't think I have that shared. I only have my browser shared, so if I click on that, you're probably not going to be able to see it. But that's how you get the data out of it. That's how you can give it to other people. You can either download that file, or there's a sharing link. You can give a link to someone, and then they can download it remotely without having to be on site. Again, great for law enforcement who don't want to have to drive on site to go and get that. So really end-to-end sort of use of this technology. And I could have done everything I've shown you on my phone. In fact, I have the alerts set up on my phone for my apartment, which has cameras, to text me. It sends me an SMS. So I've got my my provider's phone number in my alerts email there, and it SMSs me when someone walks to my front door. So again, you can get very quick alerts, especially for like remote locations. Maybe the school's closed for the vacation, and then someone breaks in. You want to know really quickly, so you can check it. If it is like a student maybe who's gone to do something, then you could go to school, or maybe if it's someone trying to steal something, you can call law enforcement. So beyond just looking at single cameras, most people want to look at lots of cameras. And so you can scale the sort of Meraki dashboard in many different ways. And so you can have what's called a video wall. And so you can assemble multiple cameras into one interface. And so here I have some for my bike room, or you can have many cameras. You can have up to 16 per video wall, and you can have numerous video walls. So you can now then look at the bike room here. We even have them in our server rooms, the IDFs. And that's because it allows us to keep an eye on all the Meraki engineers running around, plugging things in and unplugging stuff. So when you're trying to make sure your network is stable and reliable, you want to make sure people are not making changes without you knowing. The reason I've brought this particular video wall up is these cameras are in night mode. There is no lighting in these rooms. These rooms are completely dark. The only thing that is lighting this room is the infrared night vision illumination on the cameras. So you can see I've sort of zoomed in here, and now I get a much better look at my server rack. I can see the LED is flashing on my router, still alive, that's all good. And I can zoom back out again, and it's going to take me to the cameras. And these cameras can be anywhere in the world. The little cloud symbol means I'm getting a cloud proxy. If I had a little tick, it would get that more efficient local stream that Sarah Lynn talks about in our architecture slide. Now, if I want to create a new one, I click Edit Layouts, and I can say New Layout, and then I can go in here and I can pick from all my thumbnails. So say I want this camera, and maybe I want to have that camera, and I have this camera, and that one, and this one, and that one. And I can go up, and now I can drag, and I can drop. And I have a new video wall in a very short period of time. What's so useful is you can then go and use this video temporarily for a particular incident, and then you can destroy it and start again and use something else. So very, very straightforward to go and use. Now I want to start wrapping things up, and then we can sort of go back to the presentation and we can go through a few more things. So make sure you ask all your questions to the team as we go through. Now, if I go to where it says network wide, I can go to administration here. you'll notice we have this special area called camera-only admins. So there are people who need access to cameras that shouldn't change anything, shouldn't break anything, and maybe they only need access to a couple of things. Importantly, you also don't want them to change any of your network infrastructure if it's part of their network infrastructure. So this is where your camera-only admins come into play. You can see I have myself defined here. I can't be trusted with all these cameras and other pieces of infrastructure. I need to make sure it's locked down. So I could say, I can only view live footage for, let's say, one of my cameras. So I'm going to say the door entrance. So this person can only view the door entrance live, can't view anything else. Or I can say they can view live and historical and export footage for just a subset of cameras. And here I'm going to say only cameras for the bike room. Or I can say they can do it for all the cameras overall. And that's it. So you get this granularity, and it's very easy to then assign it. One of the things that we've seen, and we also sort of probably suggest is a good idea, is you can preemptively create an account for your local emergency response organization so that they can log in remotely from anywhere and sort of see what's going on. It allows them to sort of help you out in a difficult situation, and it really is just using a web browser. You can do it on your phone as you're a passenger in a moving car, for example. That's not an issue. Okay, so we're going to now switch back to the slide. So give us a brief minute here.
All right, and we're back. Thank you, George. This is Sarah Lynn again. And we're going to close out now and just go over the Meraki Envy lineup really quickly. We have a few different models covering indoor and outdoor. Our MV12 is our newest model. It's kind of a second generation. It is a fixed lens. There are three models, wide and a narrow, that both come in 256 gigabyte options, and then an entry level wide angle option at 128 gigabytes for a more price sensitive customer. It has a compact form factor. You can't tell maybe by this picture, but it's about a third of the size of the MV21 if you're familiar with that model. And it has advanced onboard analytics aboard it. So in addition to the motion heat maps that our MV21s and MV71s have, it has our object detection and people counting all on there. The MV12 is also wireless capable, has audio, and a lot of other cool things as well. Our MV21 and our MV71 are both varifocal, so they are zoom capable. The MV21 is our indoor model. It's easy installation, multi-purpose. The MV71 is our outdoor model for more demanding environments. It's IP66 and IK10 rated, so it is vandal resistant and weather resistant, and a very good option for outdoor or higher risk places. But all of our cameras, again, store the video on the camera themselves, use the Meraki dashboard, kind of have all of the benefits that George showed you with the motion search and the motion alerts and the video admins and those configurable video walls, kind of all those fun things, regardless of which one you choose. And again, as we've kind of mentioned, you don't need more Meraki equipment to run Meraki MV cameras, but we promise you it will make your life much easier, so you can leverage the full Meraki stack for even greater benefits. We've got wireless access points, optimized all the way up to, or for high density, with 802.11 AC and Bluetooth in them. We have a full range of security appliances as well for unified threat management protection. Layer 2 and Layer 3 switches for your mission critical networks. Our systems manager, endpoint management, to help manage the multitude of end user devices that you have in schools now for Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, all those types of devices. Chrome as well. Thank you, George. And then our newest product line, Meraki Insight, to help understand what is happening on your network, optimize user experience, and accelerate IT. So it really is a complete cloud-managed IT portfolio with a single pane of glass management. So next steps, I'm going to actually introduce Catherine, who is on our PM team here, and she's going to talk a little bit about the feedback that we'd love from you guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Catherine and I'm a product specialist on the MV team. So here at Meraki, we're always looking to solve more user problems. One of our next initiatives is to solve safety-related problems in the education space. To build the best product possible, if you or your colleagues have experience in this area or have strong opinions about the matter, we would love to hear your input. What this would entail would be a 30-minute phone call where we could have a conversation about what problems and pain points that you have related to school safety and what we could do to try to solve that. So if this interests you, please just shoot me an email at the address on the slide and also include a brief introduction about your school. So thank you in advance for your input.
Thanks, Catherine. So again, if you want to give us feedback, direct to product management, email Catherine Wang. It's KWANG 1010, the number, at Meraki.net. We look forward to hearing from you. So for next steps, we have some additional resources. If you're looking to get some additional information, find out what's happening, what is the latest, you can check out our blog. It is at meraki.cisco.com/blog. If you do want to test out MV or any of our other Meraki pieces of equipment, we do have risk-free evaluations. We can send you out gear free of charge to test out in your environment, see how easy it is to use, check out those analytics, motion alerts, motion search, all those really, really cool features that George talked about today. And if you want to get involved, join the Meraki community. That's community.meraki.com. You can join the conversation, share ideas with, get feedback from, and help other Meraki users like yourself. Now, finally, I want to announce that we are doing a very, very special promo from now until October 27th. We're going to be offering education customers in the U.S. exclusive pricing on Meraki Envy security cameras. So this is an opportunity for you to take advantage of this, to take advantage of Meraki Envy in your schools, all the really cool benefits, the time saving features, the intelligence that you may not be getting with your current system. If you're interested in finding out more, contact your sales rep or your partner to get started, or you can visit the website on the screen for more information.
Thank you very much, Sarah Lynn. We have some questions that are sort of coming up on a particular theme and some outstanding questions kind of hammering away at the keyboard there. So I wanted to make sure we got a chance to answer some of those in the remaining time that we have for the webinar. One of the ones that's come up is questions about what happens if someone destroys your camera, concerns around storing video on the camera and stuff like that. So this is a question that we receive relatively regularly because people want to know what's going to happen. So the video is stored on the camera. You can't get away from that fact. That's how we do it, and that's how we eliminate all of the extra boxes, servers, DVRs, NVRs, and things that Sarah Lynn was talking about earlier on. And you could potentially destroy the cameras, but there are ways to mitigate this. So we have had an experience with an education customer where they had both our types of very focal dome cameras, the MV21 and MV71. And so what happened was some vandals broke in to this school during the holidays and sort of destroyed some stuff. Now, the MV71 is an IK10 rated camera. It's incredibly strong. We have a baseball bat in the office we use to demonstrate its strength. You can take a baseball bat to that camera and it will survive. And so they couldn't destroy those cameras. So what they did was they put their baseball hats over the camera itself, and there was no footage about what happened from those cameras. Now, the two internal cameras, they took some big sort of builder's claw hammers to those cameras and sort of pulverized them, essentially. But the cameras still kept their footage because the solid state storage is pretty robust and the cameras weren't sort of ground to a dust. They didn't have the lenses, plastics, or any of the other parts anymore. The best footage of the people that did this was actually from the destroyed cameras, because they were looking right into the lenses when they beat them to pieces. So intriguingly, the cameras that were destroyed were the most effective at catching the criminals in the act. Now, saying that, there is still the potential that someone could like fatally destroy a camera. But we've also had customers tell us about incidents where someone stole their NVR, so they took all the footage and they lost all of it. Incidents when the NVR hard disk died or the RAID array was corrupted and they lost all the footage. So you do have some side benefits of having the storage on the camera, which is solid state, it's much more reliable than the spinning media, and you also distribute your chance of total loss. So if you have like 10 cameras, the likelihood of them being able to destroy or like remove all 10 cameras is pretty low, especially if you use the MV71. That camera is incredibly robust. I have personal experience trying to remove one that didn't want to come off a wall, and it involved a crowbar and a huge mains-powered angle grinder, and it wasn't easy. So the chances of them taking all 10 are going to be very, very low. So there is the potential that someone could destroy the camera, but you also alleviate these problems with losing everything or like having failure with the NVR or the DVR and so on. So there is that other way of looking at the scenario. Now, there were some questions that came in around connectivity. How do I connect to them? How do I power them? Those type of things. So on the MV21 and the MV71, they are Ethernet, wired Ethernet only. So you need a Cat5 or Cat6 cable to plug into those. The MV21 is PoE, so you need your normal PoE port. That's any Meraki PoE switching or MX device we make will power that for you. And the MV71 is PoE plus. The reason it's PoE plus and requires that greater level of power is that has a heater in, and that heater makes sure the camera can work in very cold conditions. So it's good down to negative 40 Celsius. I'm afraid I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit off the top of my head, but it's really, really cold. So the camera's good to go when it's really, really cold. Now with the MV12, you have some more options. So this is just like the MV21 in the fact it's normal PoE, but you can also connect it via wireless if you want. So the follow-on question is always, how do I power a camera if it's wireless? Like sort of like chicken and egg situation here. What happens if you take that Ethernet cable away? Well, the camera can connect wirelessly for the data, and you could either power it from a PoE injector if you want to put it on 120 volts and connect it to the wall, or we will have an accessory launching in the end of August, which is a low voltage power injector. So what that does is it allows you to take a legacy analog camera system, which has 12 volts or 24 volts, and it converts it to PoE, especially for the camera. One of the problems we heard is that customers with analog camera systems would love a new one, but the cost of replacing all the cables was too much, or they needed to buy switch ports to plug in the new Ethernet cables, which was too much. So with the MV12, you can very quickly shortcut your journey to the future. I think I'm going to go with that message there, where you just take the accessory and the camera and you just rip and replace your legacy analog one and away you go. You will need to make sure there is some wireless coverage for the camera to connect to, but otherwise you need nothing else to make it work. And it really is pretty flexible. To sort of give you an idea of how flexible it is, my team were on a boat yesterday and they managed to get the camera working using a solar panel and a Wi-Fi hotspot on a mobile phone in the middle of the San Francisco Bay. So the question here may be, why should I care about such an extravagant deployment? Well, one of the interesting things is when you put cameras up, all the problems move where the cameras are not. So suddenly all the bullying or the theft or the graffiti moves to places where there are no longer cameras. So having a camera system which is very flexible and adaptable allows you to keep on top of the problem. And so when you have a camera which stores locally, doesn't use a lot of bandwidth, you can actually just connect it to wireless and then put it somewhere. Or you can even use a sort of cellular device. So Sterling did a great deployment recently in the middle of a football field using our little teleworker device. That's the Z3, has a USB port which you put like a Verizon or other 4G dongle in, and was able to put it in the middle of a football field and watch some sales colleagues kick footballs very poorly over goalposts. But what that means is you could go put that anywhere where you have an issue and you can get some visibility into that area, which is really, really powerful. So let's just have a look at the remaining time. I'm going to ask Carly if there are any other questions that we should go through. No, I think we are out of time. What I would like to end with is please, please, please email Catherine. She's really trying to get this body of research so that we can develop more functionality into the product that makes it easier for you to run your schools and colleges and to ensure student safety so everyone can focus on education. Just to give you an example of how that research could materialize, we hear a lot about floor plans. People really want to see their cameras on a floor plan. There are lots of corridors that look just the same. You're looking at them in a video wall and all these corridors all look the same, and you want to direct someone in the right way to go help someone. The floor plan is a thing that people have asked for, and we're also sort of researching. So that's the type of thing that Catherine's going to be looking at. But she really wants to know the problems that you could use a solution to. So please get in touch. We take that stuff really seriously, and we'd really love to hear from you. So with that, and I think from the rest of the team here, from Sarah Lynn, Catherine, Carly, and myself, thank you very much for your time, and please give us a call to try out MV.